The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet's surface. We've mapped nearly every inch of Mars, photographed distant galaxies billions of light years away, and sent probes to the outer edges of our solar system. Yet we've explored less than 5% of our own oceans. The seafloor remains more mysterious to us than the surface of the moon. But here's what they don't tell you. It wasn't always like this. There was a time, not so long ago, when humanity was obsessed with conquering the deep. The Cold War era saw an explosion of underwater exploration. Submarines descended to crushing depths. Research vessels crisscrossed the ocean floor. Nations competed to plant their flags in the darkest trenches on Earth. Billions of dollars poured into marine research. The world's greatest minds turned their attention downward into the abyss. And then, quite suddenly, it all stopped. By the 1970s, the golden age of deep ocean exploration came to an abrupt end. Funding dried up. Missions were cancelled. Advanced submarines were mothballed. The public's attention shifted to space, to the stars, to anywhere but down. Official explanations were simple: too expensive, too dangerous, not enough scientific value. But what if the real reason was something else entirely? What if they found something down there that made them stop looking? Let's start with what we know. The deepest point in the ocean is the Mariana Trench, plunging nearly 11 kilometers below the surface. The pressure at that depth is over 1,000 times what we experience at sea level. It's a world of absolute darkness, near freezing temperatures, and crushing force that would instantly pulverize a human body. For decades, we were told that nothing could survive down there, that the deep ocean was a sterile wasteland, devoid of life. But in 1977, something changed everything. Scientists exploring the Galapagos Rift made a discovery that shattered our understanding of life itself. They found entire ecosystems thriving around hydrothermal vents, volcanic fissures on the ocean floor, spewing superheated water laced with toxic chemicals. And living in this hellish environment were creatures unlike anything ever seen. Giant tube worms taller than a man, eyeless shrimp, massive clams, all feeding on bacteria that derived energy not from sunlight, but from the chemicals pouring out of the earth itself. This was chemosynthesis, a form of life that didn't need the sun. Life that could exist in total darkness, in conditions we thought were impossible. If life could thrive here, in the most hostile environment on Earth, then it could exist anywhere. On the ice moons of Jupiter, in the subsurface oceans of Europa, perhaps even in places we haven't dared to imagine. The discovery should have launched a new era of ocean exploration. The implications were staggering. But instead, something strange happened, just as the world's attention should have been turning toward the deep, just as funding should have been pouring in, the opposite occurred. Programs were quietly shut down. Research vessels were decommissioned. Scientists who wanted to continue their work found their proposals rejected. The door to the abyss was closing. One of the most telling examples is the fate of the deep submersible Alvin. This legendary submarine made the discovery of the hydrothermal vents possible. It was the workhorse of deep ocean research, capable of diving to depths of nearly 5,000 meters. After its historic discoveries in the late 1970s, you'd expect Alvin to be sent on mission after mission, exploring every trench and ridge it could reach. But its expeditions became fewer and further between. Budget constraints, they said, maintenance issues, shifting priorities. Then there's the curious case of Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh. In 1960, these two men descended to the deepest point on Earth, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. They spent just 20 minutes on the bottom before ascending. It was a triumph of human engineering and courage. And for over 50 years, no one went back. Think about that. We went to the bottom of the world to a place no human had ever been, and then we just left. For half a century, the deepest point on our planet remained untouched. When filmmaker James Cameron finally made the dive again in 2012, he was only the third person in history to reach the Challenger Deep. 3 people in over 60 years. Compare that to space, where hundreds of astronauts have travelled, where private companies now offer tourist flights, where we've maintained a continuous human presence in orbit for decades. Why the difference? Why did we abandon the deep? Some will tell you it's about money. That space exploration captures the public imagination in a way that ocean research never could. That there's more scientific value in studying distant planets than in mapping our own seafloor. But this argument falls apart when you look at the numbers. Deep ocean exploration is actually far cheaper than space missions. A state-of-the-art submersible costs a fraction of what a single satellite launch requires. The technology already exists. We don't need to invent new physics to reach the ocean floor. We just need to send the equipment down. So if it's not about cost, and it's not about capability, what's the real reason? Let's consider the testimony of those who've been down there. Dr. Robert Ballard, the oceanographer who discovered the wreck of the Titanic, has spoken about strange anomalies on the seafloor. Perfectly geometric formations that look nothing like natural geology. Vast, smooth plains where the ocean floor should be rough and irregular. Structures that appear almost architectural, too precise to be the work of random volcanic activity. Then there are the sounds. The ocean is not silent, it's filled with noise. The songs of whales, the clicking of dolphins, the grinding of tectonic plates. But deep ocean hydrophones have picked up sounds that don't match any known biological or geological source. The most famous is the Bloop, recorded in 1997 by the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It was one of the loudest sounds ever recorded in the ocean, far louder than any whale. The source was traced to somewhere in the South Pacific, thousands of meters deep. Official explanation? Probably an iceberg carving. But the pattern of the sound doesn't match ice. It rises and falls in frequency, almost like a living creature. A creature of unimaginable size. There are other sounds. The upsweep, the whistle, the train, all detected in the deep ocean, all unexplained. The recordings are publicly available, yet discussion of them is curiously muted. Scientists who study these phenomena are careful with their words. They speak in probabilities and maybes. They avoid definitive statements. It's as if there's an unspoken understanding that some questions are better left unasked. And then there are the objects. In 2011, a Swedish diving team exploring the Baltic Sea discovered what they called the Baltic Sea Anomaly. Sonar images showed a disc-shaped object, roughly 60 meters in diameter, resting on the ocean floor. The object had features that looked almost like a ramp or an entrance, straight lines, right angles. When the team tried to approach it with electronic equipment, their instruments failed. Cameras went dark, satellite phones lost signal. Only when they moved away did everything start working again. The Swedish team returned with samples, rock that contained materials not typically found in that part of the world, formations that looked too perfect to be natural. But the story faded from the news. Funding for further exploration disappeared. The site remains largely untouched, a mystery lying in the dark. These are not isolated incidents. Across the world, oceanographers have reported finding things that don't fit. Ancient structures buried under sediment, too old and too advanced for the civilizations we know existed at the time. Massive walls running along the seafloor for kilometers, perfectly straight, as if built with purpose. There's the Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan, a series of stone terraces and steps that some geologists insist are natural formations, while others argue they show clear signs of human construction. If they were built by humans, they would predate known civilization by thousands of years. What makes all of this even more suspicious is the pattern of silence. When discoveries are made, they appear briefly in the news, generate some interest, and then vanish. Researchers who want to investigate further find their funding requests denied. Documentaries are made but never widely distributed. The information exists, scattered across academic journals and obscure websites, but it never coalesces into a larger narrative. It's as if someone is ensuring that the pieces never quite come together. There's also the military angle. The world's navies have access to ocean floor mapping technology that makes civilian efforts look primitive. Nuclear submarines patrol the deep in total secrecy. What they see down there, what their sonar detects, is classified. In the 1980s, the US Navy declassified some of its acoustic data, leading to discoveries like the hydrothermal vents. But the vast majority of what they've recorded remains locked away. What are they hiding? What have they found that we're not allowed to know? Consider the history of underwater nuclear tests. During the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union detonated nuclear weapons deep underwater. The official reason was to test the effects of such explosions, to understand how nuclear war might be fought at sea. But there were always rumours, whispers that the tests weren't just about weapons research, that they were trying to destroy something or wake something up. There's a declassified Soviet report from 1982 that describes an encounter during a training exercise in the Pacific. A submarine detected a massive object moving beneath it, far larger than any known vessel. The object paced the submarine for several minutes before accelerating away at a speed that should have been impossible. The crew reported that their sonar went haywire, picking up sounds that resembled mechanical whirring mixed with something organic, almost like breathing. The incident was logged and filed away. No follow-up investigation was ever conducted. Stories like this exist in every major navy's archives. Official reports that hint at encounters with the unknown, objects moving at impossible speeds, structures that shouldn't exist, life forms that defy classification. But these reports are buried under layers of bureaucracy, classified for reasons of national security. We're told it's to protect military technology. But what if it's to protect something else? What if they don't want us to know what's really down there? The timing of the slowdown in ocean exploration is also significant. It coincides almost exactly with the rise of satellite technology and the space race. In the 1960s, as we were preparing to send men to the moon, ocean research was still a priority. But by the 1970s, as space became the dominant frontier, the oceans were quietly forgotten. Was this a natural shift in priorities, or was it a deliberate redirection of public attention? It's worth noting that the same governments funding space exploration were also funding ocean research. They could have done both. The resources existed, the technology existed, but a choice was made. Look up, not down. Explore the stars, not the abyss. Why? One theory is that space offers a safer mystery. The challenges of space are known: vacuum, radiation, distance. We understand these problems, even if we can't always solve them. But the ocean is different. It's here, on our planet, pressing against our shores. It's vast and unexplored, yes, but it's also accessible, and perhaps that's what makes it dangerous. Because if there's something down there, something we're not meant to find, it's a lot harder to ignore than a signal from a distant star. There's also the philosophical dimension. Humanity has always looked outward, to the horizon, to the sky, to the future. The ocean, by contrast, is a reminder of the past. It covers ancient landscapes, drowned cities, lost civilizations. To explore the deep is to confront history, and perhaps there are chapters of that history we're not ready to read. The ocean is also a mirror. When we descend into the darkness, we're descending into the unknown parts of ourselves. The deep represents everything we fear: the crushing pressure, the isolation, the things that lurk just beyond the reach of our lights. Space, for all its dangers, is clean, sterile. The ocean is alive, teeming with creatures that seem designed by nightmares. To explore it is to face those nightmares head-on. And maybe, just maybe, we're not as brave as we pretend to be. But let's return to the evidence. In 2014, a deep ocean survey off the coast of California detected a series of massive trenches carved into the seafloor. These weren't natural formations. The patterns were too regular, too deliberate. They looked like claw marks, as if something enormous had dragged itself across the bottom. The team that made the discovery submitted their findings for publication. The paper was rejected, not because the data was flawed, but because the implications were deemed too speculative. The trenches are still there. No one has gone back to investigate. Then there's the Mariana Trench itself. When James Cameron made his historic dive in 2012, he captured hours of footage. Most of it has never been released. What he showed the public were brief clips of barren rock and the occasional sea cucumber, but Cameron himself has hinted that there was more. In interviews, he's spoken about feelings of unease at the bottom, a sense that he was being watched, strange shapes moving just beyond the range of his lights. He's careful not to make definitive claims, but the subtext is clear. Something is down there. And it's not just the Mariana Trench. In 2016, researchers exploring the Puerto Rico Trench discovered what they described as a field of monoliths. Tall rectangular structures standing upright on the ocean floor, arranged in patterns that looked almost deliberate. The discovery was reported in a single academic paper and then forgotten. No further expeditions were planned. The site remains unexplored. Why do these discoveries keep getting buried? Why is there no follow-up, no concerted effort to understand what we're finding? The answer may lie in the nature of what's down there. If the ocean holds evidence of something that contradicts our understanding of history, of life, of reality itself, then those in power have a choice. They can reveal the truth and deal with the consequences, or they can suppress it and maintain the status quo. Which would you choose? Consider what would happen if we found proof of an ancient, advanced civilization at the bottom of the ocean. Cities built by people who existed long before recorded history. Technology that surpasses our own. The implications would be catastrophic for every institution that relies on our current understanding of the past. Religions would be challenged. Governments would lose credibility. The entire structure of modern society is built on the assumption that we are the pinnacle of human achievement. If that assumption is false, if we're merely the latest in a long line of civilizations, each rising and falling in turn, then everything changes. Or imagine we found life, not simple bacteria, but complex, intelligent life. Creatures that have evolved in isolation for millions of years, developing in ways we can't comprehend. What would that do to our sense of uniqueness, to our place in the natural order? We like to think of ourselves as the dominant species on this planet. But what if we're not? What if there's something down there, something older and stranger that has been here all along? The evidence suggests that deep ocean exploration didn't stop because we ran out of money or lost interest. It stopped because someone made a decision to shift our focus away from the deep, to redirect our curiosity toward the stars. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, why? What did they find down there? What made them close the door to the abyss? We may never know the full truth. The ocean keeps its secrets well. The darkness down there is absolute, the pressure crushing, the cold unforgiving. It's a place that does not welcome visitors. But it's also a place we can't afford to ignore, because whether we like it or not, the deep ocean is part of our world. It shapes our climate, feeds our populations, holds the history of our planet in its sediments. To turn away from it is to turn away from a fundamental part of ourselves. And yet that's exactly what we've done. We've looked to the heavens and ignored the depths. We've built telescopes to peer into the farthest reaches of space, while leaving vast stretches of our own planet unexplored. It's a strange choice when you think about it, unless, of course, it's not a choice at all, unless it's a directive. The ocean is still there, vast and mysterious, waiting. The trenches remain unexplored. The sounds continue, echoing through the deep. The structures sit on the seafloor, silent and enigmatic, and somewhere, in a classified file or a forgotten archive, there may be answers. Answers to questions we're not supposed to ask. What they found down there, we may never fully know, but the fact that they stopped looking tells us everything we need to know. Sometimes the most revealing truth is not what is said, but what is left unsaid. And when it comes to the deep ocean, the silence is deafening. Perhaps one day we'll return to the abyss. Perhaps new explorers, driven by curiosity or necessity, will descend into the darkness and uncover what was hidden. Until then, we can only wonder. And as we look up at the stars, dreaming of distant worlds, we might spare a thought for the world beneath the waves, the world we've chosen to forget. Because down there, in the crushing pressure and eternal night, the ocean keeps its secrets, and it's waiting.